Okay, so this is another week of online music. I hope you had a great week last week. This week, I want to talk to you about barred instruments. So, here in the music room, we have lots of barred instruments. And you probably noticed the xylophone that's right here in front of me. Xylophones are super fun to play. Xylophones are, basically this wooden box. The box is hollowed out. So, if I take off a bar, there's nothing in here. It's hollow, and these wooden bars are placed across the top, and there's like these little black pegs that kind of keep them in place. Can you see that? And I hit the xylophone with a pair of mallets. Xylophones have bars that are made of wood, and I hit them with a soft mallet. So it's not like a soft mallet, like squishy soft, like a pillow. And it's not even soft like your favorite blanket. It's just kind of scratchy fabric, but it's soft because it's fabric that's covering it. So we call it a soft mallet. I take my mallets and I hit the middle of the bars. Can you hear that okay? It's kind of a soft instrument. It's not really meant to be that loud. A xylophone has bars that are made of wood. We're talking about barred instruments today. All right, I'm going to play a little for you. Does that sound familiar? That's our Huckleberry Hero song. A xylophone can play all sorts of songs. Let's see if you know this one. Did you recognize that? That was when the Saints go marching in on a xylophone. All right, so here's another barred instrument. So this looks different from the other one, right? Can you tell the big difference? Well, let's talk about how they're the same. You see, the other instrument, a xylophone, had bars that were made of wood. It had a wooden box, the bars were laid across the top, and little black pegs separated them. I used soft mallets to play. Well, a metallophone, same kind of idea, except instead of the bars being made of wood, they're made of metal. Can you see that? It's metal. It's made the same way. It's that hollowed box. It's the pegs that separate the bars. And I hit them with a soft mallet. Mallets that are covered with fabric. Please listen to this instrument. It's not a xylophone. Do you hear how it rings out? It has this long echo because the bars are made of metal. The bars are made of metal, so we call it a metallophone. Can you say metallophone? A metallophone has bars that are made of metal. Oh, when the Saints go marching in on a metallophone. All right, I have another barred instrument. Okay, so this is a glockenspiel. So it is much smaller than the other two. Do you notice the size? This is much smaller than the other two. A glockenspiel is meant to be small. and it's meant to have a very high sound. You want it to almost sound like a bell. So your glockenspiel is also made of metal. The bars are made of metal, but it's a different metal. It's very thin, it's very small, it's very light. A glockenspiel is so much smaller than a metallophone. A glockenspiel is meant to be like a bell. It still has your wooden box, right? It still has this wooden box. It's hollow, you know? The bars are laid across the top. The black pegs kind of separate them and keep them organized. Okay. And it's super light. Like I can pick it up with one hand. The other instruments are heavier. A glockenspiel is meant to be lighter, smaller, and the sound is much higher. Can you say glockenspiel? All right. So I'm going to play a little bit of the glockenspiel. See what you think of this sound. Glockenspiel. Okay, the other thing that's really different about the glockenspiel, I almost forgot to tell you, is the mallets. Are you noticing the mallets? These are not the soft mallets that I use for the xylophone and the metallophone. The glockenspiel has hard mallets. So this is plastic. It's hard. It's not supposed to be that soft material that we have on the others. It's a hard mallet. So your mallets are going to be made of plastic or maybe wood, but it's definitely not fabric. Glockenspiel. When the saints go marching in on glockenspiel. All right, so those are the three types of barred instruments we have here at Huckleberry: xylophone, metallophone, and glockenspiel. And you know, they're all kind of cool. I don't really have a favorite. I just like all of them for different reasons, you know? So we've been playing these barred instruments, and you're probably going to play them too when we're all back at Huckleberry next year, or maybe you remember playing them in another year. Well, I thought you might enjoy seeing some kids here at Huckleberry during music class playing these instruments. You might think that it sounds like a big mess. Metallophones, glockenspiels, xylophones, all playing at the same time. Doesn't that sound like it would be a big mess? Well, guess what? It's not a mess. The instruments sound really pretty together. I'm going to show you a few videos of some of our Huckleberry students here at school playing these instruments. I just thought maybe you would want to see a couple of the instruments together. You can see xylophone, the telephones are in the back, and I have these two glockenspiels. My glockenspiels that are yellow, I mean, that's the orangey color, that's just the metal painted. So glockenspiels can look like this, you know? That's a glockenspiel too. It's just that it's silver. This one's been painted. It's a glockenspiel, hard mallet. All right, so I found this video of a guy who like makes his own xylophones. It's kind of cool. So I thought I would have you watch that. It's really kind of neat to see how someone takes these pieces of wood and turns it into a xylophone. All right, enjoy this next little bit.
There's a lot of math and geometry and physics involved in making a xylophone, very little of which I'm going to concern myself with in this video. Mostly you just want to listen to different types of wood. Rosewood is a good choice. This is Paduk, which is also a very dense, hard wood, and it also makes a good ringing sound. Another factor to consider is where the keys are going to lie on their supports. For instance, right about here, I get a pretty good ringing sound, but if I attached it up here, it's more of a thud. I'm making the size of my xylophone based upon this one piece of wood. I printed up a full-size diagram so I could get an idea of how big it would be with 13 keys. The longest key is 8 inches and the shortest is 5. I'll start by ripping them into 1.5 inch wide strips. To tune these, I'm gonna start kind of a bass line using the longest key. This will be the lowest note. To lower the notes, all I need to do is remove some of the wood from the backside. First, I want to establish the points where it's going to attach to the frame. Right about there sounds about the right spot. And I'm just going to mark that with some chalk. So I'm going to try to cut away some of the wood that's in between those two marks. If I use a softer mallet, it'll even give it a richer sound. I'm just trying to tune these by ear. If I need to lower the note of one of the keys, I sand a little bit off using my spindle sander. If the keys need to be at a higher pitch, I would have to make the keys a little bit shorter. And I'm trying to avoid doing that because I've already cut those to size. Well, okay then. You know what all this is? This is about 5 hours of work trying to figure out how to make these keys sound good. I spent a lot of time on the internet researching this and figuring out different ways to attach these keys, and I tried a lot of those and it just wasn't working. First of all, I drilled 2 holes in this key and left it loose enough for a screw because I knew this had to move a little bit. And with it screwed down tightly like that, it really doesn't make any sound at all, even when I kind of enclose this and make a little case out of it. So I knew there had to be some movement in this, so I just loosened these screws to see what this would sound like. If anything, it kind of rattles a little bit. So my next step was to put something soft to cushion it. I picked up some of these little felt circles. These are used for chair legs so they don't scratch floors. That's the tone it needs to have. So I went back to my screws and put a hole in each of these felt pieces. Back to where I was. It's not doing anything. Try loosening it up. Nothing. And I decided to try it by cutting just a couple of dowels and put them through the felt pieces. This time it'll just slide down on there, so there's plenty of movement. A little bit better, but still not resonating the way it should. What if I just use one of these pieces? So I pulled this one out and just used the felt part. sounding a little bit better, but it's still rattling on this end. Next thing I did was I got some Velcro, and I'll stick the Velcro on here, and I'll stick a piece on here. That's pretty good. I'm gonna try it with Velcro on both sides. Not as good as when I just have Velcro on one side and the felt on the other. So I think the solution is to Velcro one side, leave the other side free to bounce, and put some dividers between this. To make the sides for the box, I'm cutting 4-degree bevels on the ends of these strips. I'm drilling holes along the top of this for the dividers. I'm sliding a dowel into this plastic tubing, and I hope these will act as bumpers. And drop these into those holes. I'll finish this with a little spray lacquer. Well, maybe that wasn't the most elegant solution, but it seems to be working out. It would also be helpful to have 2 mallets. I made these a few years ago for a slit drum. It's just a cheap rubber ball with a dowel in it. I just can't find the other one.
All right, our music class is over. You are going to spend some time in the virtual classroom. You're going to go to Seesaw, maybe practice your sign language, whatever you want to do. Just have fun making music and send me a video. All right, bye.